It's December 12, 2021. All eyes were on the ultimate race of the 2021 season, ready to witness a historic showdown. Two drivers were tied on points with one race to decide the champion. Here were the bets. If one driver won, he would become the undisputed champion of the world with 8 world championship titles, something nobody had ever pulled off. If the other driver wins, if he had any chance at all, would bag his first title and end the reign of the guy who dominated F1 for the last 4 years. If you asked any F1 fan, or even someone who just glanced at the stats, they'd say Lewis Hamilton was taking it. Everything pointed to him winning. Hell, it was the case for all of the race. Until that crash. This is the tale of the most insane championship battle ever recorded in F1 history. How did it all come to one final lap of controversy? To understand the gravity of this situation, we need to get to the start of the season. Lewis Hamilton was coming in strong after winning his 7th World Championship, equaled only by the Michael Schumacher. Another win is surely going to make him the greatest driver F1 had seen on paper. Actually, he already was. He had the best rookie season, most pole positions ever, and the most wins and most podium finishes. He was clearly dominating Formula One's hybrid era. Max Verstappen, who finished 3rd in 2020, was also someone to look for. Starting in F1 as the youngest driver in 2015, then becoming the youngest to win a race and land on a podium, Max had all the markings to be the next Hamilton, or maybe even better. Clearly, that guy had serious talent. Well, we didn't see it then that these two were setting up for a cutthroat rivalry that was slowly being woven over time. Pre-season testing sessions saw Red Bull making significant progress with its cars, while Mercedes appeared to be struggling given their lofty standards. Red Bull had seemed to deliver a title-challenging car, the RB16B. Compared with W12, the successor of the legendary W11, the RB16 had equal machinery with 1.6-litre V6 turbo hybrids, and both weighed 752 kgs. The only thing that seemed to matter was the aerodynamics and the driver who drives these machines. The season opener in Bahrain set the stage. Verstappen's attempt to overtake Hamilton off track led to controversy, forcing him to relinquish his possession and cede victory to Hamilton. The battle continued with close clashes in Imola, Portugal and Spain. Verstappen led initially but only won in Imola, losing out to Hamilton in other races. Hamilton's dominant performance in Barcelona highlighted his advantage, but France saw Verstappen's decisive win after a daring late overtake. With Verstappen now ahead in points, the championship seemed to tilt in his favour. The rivalry intensified at Silverstone, where Hamilton's pole position was lost to Verstappen's precise sprint race victory. During the main race, a dramatic clash between Hamilton and Verstappen on the opening lap resulted in Verstappen crashing into the barriers. The incident triggered a red flag and reshuffling of positions, with Leclerc briefly taking the lead. Hamilton, undeterred, executed a remarkable comeback to secure victory despite criticism for his post-race celebrations. This win shifted the championship dynamics, closing the points gap. At Hungary, a crash caused by Bottas damaged Verstappen's car, but he continued racing despite compromised performance. Hamilton's blunder allowed Ocon to win, while Hamilton and Verstappen finished P2 and P9 respectively. Spa was marred by rain, resulting in a red flagged race and a points allocation based on qualifying results, narrowing Hamilton's lead to 3 points. The Netherlands, Verstappen dominated in front of his home crowd, while in Monza, a collision between Verstappen and Hamilton led to both drivers retiring. Hamilton's 100th Grand Prix win in Russia saw him reclaim the championship lead, despite Verstappen's strong performance from the back of the grid. In Turkey, a great penalty for Hamilton limited his recovery to 5th place, with Verstappen narrowly missing victory due to Bottas' strong drive. Verstappen's victory in the United States and Mexico solidified his title prospects, and despite Hamilton's setback from a grid penalty in Mexico, he made a stunning recovery in the sprint race. The championship battle remained tight as Hamilton's performance in the final rounds kept the fight alive. The season's climax unfolded in Saudi Arabia with a high-speed duel and dramatic incidents. Verstappen and Hamilton's fierce rivalry saw a contentious late race restart, with Verstappen receiving a 5-second penalty ensured the championship would be decided in the final race at the Yas Marina in Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi has been unpredictable, giving some of the best and worst races of times. Now a once-in-a-life opportunity was bestowed upon this circuit to hold the decider. To improve racing, the officials decided to change the track, altering a number of turns into smoother corners. This would surely go to affect the races, as these modifications increased overtaking. Even though the cars of Max and Lewis had the same stats on paper, they are completely different in aerodynamics. Summed up, one car excels at straights and high-speed corners, while the other performs better at slower, medium-speed corners. This fact seemed to have the Red Bull gaining an edge over the Merc, given the modification of the track to allow more straights. Qualifications preached the same, with Max ending up with pole position with Lewis coming second. But that did not mean Mercedes was totally out of the race. They've also showed what their car was capable of. You know, the FIA is the entity responsible for keeping the rules in F1 up to date. They've created a system to ensure the rules are enforced effectively, which includes the F1 stewards. Among their multiple roles, we should focus on one particular role: the race director. This individual is actually responsible for what happens in the race. That is, that person should make sure that the race goes smoothly. The race director has some significant control over the race, which includes deciding when to deploy safety cars, handling incidents on track, and enforcing rules that impact the race's outcome. For the 2021 season, this critical role was held by Micheal Masi. Remember this name, as this man played a big part on what was to come up. December 12 was here. The fateful race between Max and Lewis was about to begin.
We've been waiting for this all season long. The finale, the title decider, under the lights here in Abu Dhabi. It's lights out, away we go, and Hamilton gets a decent start, and he's already ahead of Max Verstappen.
On lap 1, Lewis got a better start and flew ahead of Max. In turn 6, Max's dive bomb costed him when Lewis cut a corner and gained an extra second. Red Bull complained. Lap 20, and the order was Perez, Hamilton, and Verstappen, where Hamilton was behind Perez, while Verstappen was third behind Hamilton with an 8-second gap. Verstappen was out of the race for the championship, it seemed. But was it not for Perez's solid defense, it would have been true. The Mexican Minister of Defense held Hamilton at bay for an entire lap, playing a team game. This allowed Max to rapidly close into Lewis, which shortened the 8-second gap to just 1 second behind. Finally, Lewis managed to get away from Perez's defense. Even though his teammates' play helped Max a lot, it didn't seem to last long as he couldn't keep up with Lewis's blistering pace. On lap 36, Giovinazzi had a hydraulic issue, forcing him to stop before turn 10, paving the way for a virtual safety car. During this period, Max's team called him for a pit stop. Don't ask me why, but this put them behind Lewis with over 20 seconds in gap. This strategy of Red Bull had handed over the championship to Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton was going to win his 8th World Championship for sure. But that's what we thought, until Latifi made his appearance. On lap 53, Nicolas Latifi lost control of his car and crashed at turn 14, bringing out the safety car. Mercedes wanted this the last, and obviously they did not expect this. To retain the track position, Mercedes opted to stay out instead of pitting for new tires. Meanwhile, Red Bull had another strategy up their sleeves. The timing was immaculate. Max pitted in for softs, knowing fully well that he would have been overtaken by lapped cars, and catching Lewis after the end of the safety car would be tougher. But I don't know what was on their mind. Maybe they were just confident enough in Max's ability to catch up, even if there were 5 lap cars between him and Lewis, if he had those right tires. Anyway, the obvious happened, and Max had 5 lap cars between him and Lewis. Came in the announcement that lap cars would not be allowed to overtake. Immediately, Red Bull complained about the decision to race director Micheal Masi.
Yeah, why aren't we getting these lap cars out of the way? Because, Christian, just give me a second.
Obviously, those lap cars, you don't need to let them go right the way around and catch up with the back of the pack.
Understood.
You only need to let them
Understood.
go.
Just give us a second.
And then we've got a motor race on our hands.
Understood.
Will now overtake. What is going on?
So Norris and Alonso and Ocon and Leclerc and Vettel to
control are now
And it's
saying
ending. Wow.
lapped cars
I think all the
to
cars
overtake
ahead of
the
you
safety
are going
car.
to pass Hamilton. Everybody behind you will stay in position.
No, Mikey, no, Mikey, that was so not right.
Then, FIA changed the decision, allowing the lapped cars only between Max and Lewis to overtake the safety car. With this unusual rule, the drivers, the teams and the audience were in confusion. The lapped cars passed the safety car, and what left from there was Max and Lewis side by side. There was just one lap of racing left, and Lewis had to defend against Max on brand new soft pace.
What jeopardy at the end of this Grand Prix.
one lap of racing to decide the championship in 2021. Is it going to be a first world championship for Verstappen? Is it going to be an 8th world championship for Lewis Hamilton? Down into turn 5 is Verstappen, far enough back, he's going to make the lunge down the inside. Hamilton's by Verstappen, who takes the lead of the race. Verstappen now snatches the championship trophy from Lewis Hamilton. Here comes Lewis Hamilton though, down the back straight, he's got a slipstream, he almost touches Verstappen, they almost make contact into turn 9, Verstappen stays ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Of all the drama, of all the controversy, of all the magic moments in Formula 1 in 2021, it comes down to this, and at this moment it looks like it's going to go the way of Max Verstappen. Mercedes not happy, Red Bull will be delighted. They have shared a brilliant championship battle, but the championship can only be won by one, and it's going Dutch in 2021. Max Verstappen, for the first time ever, is champion of the world. Oh my Lord, Max! Max Verstappen, for the first time ever, is champion of the world.
After the race, Mercedes filed 2 protests with the Motorsport World Council regarding Article 48.8 and Article 48.12. Article 48.8 states that no cars can overtake during a safety car period. Article 48.12 outlines that lapped cars should overtake the safety car to catch up to the pack before the racing resumes. Mercedes argued that Max Verstappen overtook Lewis Hamilton under the safety car, but the FIA countered that both drivers were accelerating erratically and that Verstappen was behind Hamilton before the line. The council dismissed this protest. For Article 48.12, the FIA broke multiple rules by allowing only the lapped cars between Verstappen and Hamilton to overtake, an unprecedented move. The lapped cars didn't have enough time to catch up, and the race continued. Mercedes requested to use the previous lap's conclusion to correct the mistakes, but the FIA refused, citing Article 15.3, which grants the race director complete control over race proceedings. The council agreed with the FIA, dismissing the case without addressing the lapped car's selective unlapping. The race led to several changes in F1 regulations. The race director's responsibilities were adjusted to prevent similar issues. Direct communication between team principals and the FIA was removed. The safety car procedure was clarified, and a version of the VSC was introduced. The race altered perceptions of F1. Instead of a standard finish, there was a one-lap shootout. Toto Wolff and Hamilton criticized the decisions, arguing that the race was manipulated. If the rules had been followed, Hamilton would have won. The only scenario where Verstappen could have won was if the rules were broken, which they were. This controversy might have been influenced by pressure on Micheal Masi, who had been a race director for only 3 years and made decisions favoring Verstappen. Despite protests, Verstappen was confirmed as world champion, ending Mercedes' 7-year dominance and marking a new chapter in F1 history. The 2021 season was defined by fierce competition and controversial decisions, highlighting the sport's unpredictability and passion. Well, I know it's pointless to cry about something that happened almost 3 years ago, and I'm surely not doing that. But as someone who was rooting for Hamilton 3 years ago, like many others, watching that race was incredibly hard. I don't place the blame on Max or Red Bull, but the FIA clearly fell short. But if you want to know about another instance where the FIA's shortcomings impacted a championship, look no further than this video.